Somehow my internet just decided to leave me here. Sorry about that. I don't know. I was in the middle of reading the gubernatorial order. Did you all hear any of that? I hate to start over. I'll start where I think I left off, which is on June 25th, 2021, Governor Pritzker signed a new gubernatorial disaster proclamation extending the statewide declaration through Saturday, July 24th. 2021. Under this proclamation, public meetings may continue to be held remotely in accordance with Public Act 101-0640. The Police Community Relations Advisory Committee Town Hall meeting on July 22nd, 2021 is being held via Zoom. So that tells you why we're on Zoom. And now I will call the roll call to establish our forum. Please respond by saying here, Andre Allen. I'm going to say what district each person represents also, but I'll also give everyone an opportunity to introduce themselves. So Andre Allen is our city council rep.
Here.
Okay, Demario Boone, Peoria
Here.
Public School. Chief, what are you? Are you the schools rep or are you the I don't
Schools
have
rep.
it next to your schools rep. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Shalandra Birch is at large. Terry Burnside is at large. Allison Galvin is our under 25 rep.
Present.
Nina Gugis is our NAACP rep. Nikolai Greaves represents the 5th district.
Here.
Lorraine King represents the 3rd district. Tyson Parks III is an at-large member. Karen J. Wilson is the 1st district rep.
I'm here.
Okay, I see you there. I just didn't hear you say.
Okay.
And
I forget you can see me.
and Chief Theobald, interim Chief Theobald.
Here, and our guest, Chris Johnson's in the room with me.
Oh, fabulous. Hi, Chris. Christina, I think we have a quorum. So
yes, and we also have another committee member, Kevin Evans, who represents the city manager's office, is on.
of course, I see his face, but I didn't introduce him. Kevin represents what? The city of Peoria?
The city manager's office.
Okay, welcome, Kevin. Is this your first meeting?
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, welcome. We will add you to our list. So we want to start by reading our ground rules. Welcome, everybody. Read our ground rules, which is, if you're comfortable, please identify yourself. I see we have WCBU. I see someone named Olivia Riley, Prairie State Legal. Are you a citizen?
Yeah, I'm the community advocate for state partnership programs. I'm the advocate.
Welcome. Thank you for coming. And we have one of our guest speakers. I see Becky Rossman.
Hi, how are you tonight?
Good, thanks. Becky's here to present about the resources at PCAV. The other people unnamed, I see WMBD. I see, I think that's it, Devin Hawks. Are you a community member?
Yes, I'm the principal at Manual High School. Hello,
Yeah.
everyone.
Welcome. Thank you for coming. Did I miss anybody? GB said they are not connected to a microphone. And the other people are city employees. Oh, Lee Lang. Does Lee Lang want to introduce herself? I'm guessing a community member. Okay, we can get around to that later. So we have some ground rules. We just want to, optionally identify yourself. We'd like you to mute your microphone when you're not speaking, which looks like everyone already knows that. We're going to give, we have 3 presenters today, and we're going to give them time to present about the programs they represent, and then afterwards we're going to give citizens an opportunity to speak for no more than 5 minutes each for starters, in case we have extra time. So if you want to talk afterwards, just use the little raise your hand. Is it called an emoji in the reactions button? Our Vice Chair, Allison Galvin, will manage the time allotment to make sure we stay on course, and we'll try to get to you. I'll try to wait until I call on you to talk. Pre-submitted responses will be read at the end of the town hall meeting. Do we have any pre-submitted responses, Christina?
No, we do not.
We'll get to that later then. Don't let me forget. And we just want to be respectful at all times. I think what I'd like to do, did we get the PowerPoint, Andre or Allison, did we get that over to Paul to show about the creation of our committee, or should I just read through the current ordinance?
I was going to say, I do not have that one loaded.
Okay. So I'll just read through our ordinance. We do have an ordinance on the City of Peoria website. I'll just read it briefly so you all can understand where we came from. And I'm sorry, I have to turn my head to another screen here to read it. The Advisory Committee on Police Community Relations is hereby created for the purpose of advising the Chief of Police, the city, the mayor, the city council on matters concerned with improving police-community relations and to provide an independent means of communications and assistance between the citizens of Peoria and the Peoria Police Department in order to foster a positive working relationship between the community and the police. In the event of a complaint of police misconduct is brought to the attention of any member of the committee by any citizen, such member should encourage a citizen to bring any complaint to the police department and cooperate in the police investigation of it. The member shall not become involved in the original investigation of the complaint. In the event that a citizen is not satisfied with the outcome of the investigation of their complaint, the committee may review the matter with the complainant and may discuss the matter with the chief and/or make a non-binding recommendation to the chief. The chief shall apprise the committee of the nature and outcome of citizen complaints occurring during the prior reporting period and shall work together with the committee as necessary to improve and streamline the complaint process. The committee may review police-related policies and practices with the chief and make non-binding recommendations for improvement. It is not the intent of this section that the Advisory Committee on Police Community Relations in any way infringe upon or duplicate the functions of the Board of Fire and Police Commissioners, the Chief of Police, or the Equality Opportunity Officer of the City of Peoria. So that just tells you a little bit about who we are and what our committee is. And it looks like we've got some additional committee members who have just logged on. I see Terry Burnside, we can add to the roster. Welcome. I see Miss Lorraine King, we can add. Any other committee members recently log on that we missed?
I apologize. I was at the eye doctor.
Okay. Well, you got to take care of your eyes, Lorraine.
Yeah.
Okay. So today, we also have, for any interested participants here, we can go over the complaint process, but since we have so many, we are, lucky to have so many presenters today, I want to just offer that to the community that we will go over the complaint process with you if you're interested. But in light of this incredible resource we have today, I want to kind of skip that for today. So I'm trying to figure out who I should pick on first. How about DeMario? Chief Boone what we organized for tonight, and we've been talking about this for quite a while, was having a town hall where we were able to present to the community many of the rich resources we are lucky enough to have in Peoria. So we have three, I would say, completely different presenters who are going to describe the programs they offer. And I'd like to start with Chief DeMario Boone, who is running the Lights On program in Peoria, which was taken from a program with the same name, Lights On, created by a school principal, Akbar Cook, in New Jersey. This program was to give youth activities to do at school on weekends, to stem youth violence, give students meals on Friday and Saturday evenings, and access to free laundry room. We are using the same model to bring this experience to students at Manual and Peoria High at the moment. This was funded by a Department of Education grant of over $3 million. And I also added here, DeMario signs his emails with a quote, I believe, from Frederick Douglass, which it is easier to build strong children than to prepare broken men. And with that introduction, I'll let DeMario add his description of the program. And I believe he has a PowerPoint that, Paul, are you able to share the screen and let DeMario go through the?
I am as soon as he's ready.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to mute myself.
Yeah, I'll be short, sweet, and quick because you pretty much read kind of what the PowerPoint has in it. So if you can put the PowerPoint up now. Perfect. Okay, and this is a presentation again on the Peoria Public Schools Lights on Peoria program. This will be our official second year doing the program. Really enjoyable, really well received by the kids and the families. And this grant, once again, was from the Department of Education. You can go to the next slide there. So the Lights on Peoria idea, again, it came from Newark, New Jersey, by a principal by the name of Akbar Cook. When he had taken over as principal in New Jersey, there were a lot of juvenile issues with gun violence. He was losing kids every year to gun violence in his school. He talks about also how some kids couldn't even take a direct route to school because they would be walking through certain gang territories and kind of be messed with there. So he wanted to try to take a program to give the children a safe haven. He calls it an oasis. And with the first Lights on, he kept the school open on weekends and in the summer to give, students a safe place to hang out, to play games, to eat free food. And the other part of Lights on, he brought a bunch of washers. He literally had a laundry room inside of his school. So for any kid that wants to come in there, either if they're registered as homeless or just want to wash their clothes in the school, they can. And once I heard about this idea, because when he did this program, Oprah Winfrey caught wind of it. She flew to Newark, New Jersey. She donated, $500,000 to the program. Ellen DeGeneres jumped on board, donated money to this program. So when I saw this, my first thought was, why not Peoria? So that was my first goal, was to get that here in Peoria. You can go to the next slide there. So the benefits from Lights on Peoria, or Lights on in New Jersey, he had very good relationships between students and staff because, teachers were hanging out with the kids on Fridays and Saturdays nights. Students who didn't necessarily meet each other during the school day were hanging out with each other during Lights on, so it helped with climate. He saw a 10% increase in student attendance. He attributed that to the laundry rooms for students to show up with clean clothes, things of that nature. And again, he provided that safe place, that oasis, because he was losing students every year. And the first couple years he did Lights on, he didn't lose another student during that time. So he knew that was really critical to keeping students safe. And then also juvenile crime in the vicinity of the school, in the neighborhood in the vicinity of the school, declined significantly, because on the weekends they had a safe place, a safe haven to go. Even some of the city police officers in New Jersey would pop in just to kind of hang out with kids. They would broadcast movies right there on the side of the building. Families would go right there, watch a movie, eat, and they just had that safe haven. And again, he did food, he did haircuts, he did gaming, board games, everything you could possibly think of for kids to need. He did that for that program. Go to the next slide. So how does Lights on play in Peoria? Peoria Public Schools was able to package this program. The grant writer that we had was Dr. Susan Gersnich. Once I kind of presented this program to her, she took off with it. She's amazing at writing grants. She was able to craft this grant, and a big part of getting the grant was the 61605 and 61603 zip codes that had huge disparities and disinvestment. So when we were able to show that in the grant, we were awarded $3.5 million to implement this program. But our grant and our Lights on program actually has an added piece, because when we created the program, we added justice liaisons into the grant. And those justice liaisons, we were having issues with students that would be arrested or be in the juvenile justice system and be kicked back to school. And when they would go back to school, they wouldn't be focused, or they would have issues reacclimating with school. So now with those justice liaisons created, those liaisons will meet with students.
Nice to meet you. I'm Andrea, by the way. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Excuse me, can everyone make sure their mics are muted, please?
I think.
Yeah, I signed up for half. I did a
Moz,
5K and a 15K in the past. Haven't
might be
ran in a
Moz.
while, but then I started it a couple weeks ago, and then I was like, "This is probably perfect for me." Yeah.
Moz, could you please? Oh, thank you very much.
All right, thanks. But yeah, with justice liaisons, students are actually, if they are arrested or in the juvenile justice system, they're assigned a liaison. That liaison will meet with them, plot out a plan for them to be successful, so that, you know, we don't have so many students that reoffend. And that justice liaison helps them with any social emotional needs, can help them get a job. It just basically takes a hold of them once they get in the system and try to steer them to graduate and just be made whole again. So that's kind of that extra added piece that we loved, because we had issues with students that would be incarcerated. They go to, you know, one of our other schools that would be on a specific balanced calendar. So they would have 2 or 3 weeks off, and we would see those students typically reoffend. And we wanted to make sure we had somebody that stays on top of them for that caseload. And we got 2 of those justice liaisons put into the grant. You can go to that next slide there. Just gotta go back 1 slide, I'm sorry. So with Lights on Peoria, some of the stuff we did haircuts. We had barbers that came in, gave haircuts to kids for free. Basketball, a lot of the kids just come in and they just want a gym to play in all night. So they play basketball, kickball. We had a lot of our officers playing kickballs with kids, chasing kids around. They had video games. We had, you know, PlayStation 4, Xbox. We're in the process of getting a PlayStation 5 whenever we could find those. Movies. We just finished our Six Flags trip. Several of the kids did celebrity interviews. So we had Devasi from one of the shows on Netflix. He came in, did an interview. 2 top chefs did interviews with the kids. And then people that were, you know, good in their fields, doing hair braiding, stuff like that. We had kids do interviews with those people. Laser tag, board games. There's a lady that did henna tattoos, hair braiding, music. We're in the process of opening up these laundry rooms. We have donated washers and dryers that we have set up at Manual and Peoria High, that those will be up and running this year. And we got a lot of donations from the city of Peoria for laundry, detergent, and dryer sheets and everything. I mean, it flooded my office. So we're all ready for that. Another big part of it is food. We have kids that come on Friday and Saturday nights, and they love, of course, the food portion of it. But I love the fact that we have so much food left over sometimes. The kids are able to take bags of food home with them. And the need is so great that, you know, there was one time where 2 young men were there, were kind of waiting behind as the kids were loading back on the bus. And, you know, you could literally hear them plot out, you know, this is breakfast for Saturday morning, and lunch for Saturday afternoon. Then we got lights on, then we can have food for Sunday. And the fact that those young men had to plot out food for that weekend, and we were able to provide that, was really good. We had guest speakers that come in. We had Yolanda Riley that came in, Emmanuel, not too long ago, and she talked about juvenile justice and legal issues. Robert Bell had boxing one time to get kids involved in that. We took the kids to Cartsville for a trip, both schools. We took them to the Festival of Lights. They did a fired up pantry night. And then I think in September, we're going to do a paint night at the old Greeley where Nikki and Jonathan Romaine are, so they can have a paint night. And anytime the students are with us, they'll start showing up typically around 6:30, and we eat, play games, stuff like that until about 9:30. And I didn't want groups of children walking home in the middle of the night, at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. So every single student that's there gets bused directly home. The bus literally drops them off right to the front of their home. So they're pretty much taken care of once they get to us. You can go to the next slide there. And so anytime we have needs for Lights On, the really only the main needs are, we need volunteers for weekends. We'll be opening that back up. We had to kind of put a stop to that with COVID, and kind of work with what we had in-house. But we will be opening back up for volunteers again. And then any monetary donations for food. And the grant, when we fill out the grant is pretty much we pay for everything except for food. So every single weekend, students were fed. That was all by donations through everybody in the city. Donations as small as $5, $10, $20. We were able to raise that for our Six Flags trip. We took over 70 students, and we were able to get food to every single student on that trip. And the donations were about $2,000, and that's just from everybody that's pitching in. Go to that next slide. So with that, that's kind of what Lights On is in a nutshell. If there's any questions.
Thank you, Chief Boone. It sounds like you're having a lot of fun over there. But it does sound like a lot of work and a great contribution to our community. I think I'm going to take the chair's prerogative here and allow questions, so just so that we don't forget. Just a couple minutes of questions. Does anyone raise your hand if you have questions for Chief Boone? I'd like to start off with 2 questions. Number one, how did y'all deal with quarantine? Because it sounds like you're still up and running. And number 2, like approximately how many students, males, females, whatever, at the 2 different high schools do you have come every week? So thank you. And if anyone else wants to ask a question, just raise your hand.
Yeah, with quarantine, there was a time where we had to stop. But then once we got back up and running, every single student that comes in, we were taking temperatures. We had to write down what their temperature was that we took. And then, it was a lot of cleaning. So if they were playing in the game room and that group was done and we had to rotate groups, we had to clean the game room down and, put another group in there, or the gym, try to keep people socially distanced. So we got back up and running. And, we could have nights where you may have up to 40 kids, or you could have 40 kids show up. And then I remember there was a night where we nearly had 70. You really don't know, because we do have, what we do is we put posters up at the schools, and all the kids have to do is take their phone, scan the little barcode, and it takes them right to a form, and then they put their information in to enroll. But 9 times out of 10, there's so many kids that show up at the door, and we don't turn any kids away. So when they show up at the door, we just have them scan the barcode, put the code in, we call the parent, let them know where they are, and they'll be dropped off at the house. So you can get anywhere between 40 and 70 kids.
That's awesome. So how many buses do you have running? And Andre, you're next. I see Andre's hand is up.
We had, one time we had 3 because we had so many. But most nights we have 2 buses so we can socially distance, and then those buses, that's why it's a good part about having a manual one and a Peoria High one, because all of those kids are from that specific area. So the buses, they go literally right to those houses. So we may typically have two buses.
Thank you. Andre?
Thank you, Chairwoman Zagardo. Truly appreciate it. Chief Boone, thank you for everything that you all are doing for our youth here in Peoria. Tremendous effort. If you are someone who wanted to get more information about your program, ways that maybe someone can donate, because I know that you all do accept personal donations for the community. what would be some best ways to get in contact with you or the Lights On program to support this amazing effort?
Yeah, thank you for that. You could always contact me on my work email, because a lot of people will shoot those lights on. Just title the memo and the email "Lights On." And my personal email is my name, DEMARIO .Boone BOONE @psd150.org. And I answer those really quick, when those lights on questions. And we also have a lady that, kind of facilitates things. Her name's Tiguana Webster. And usually when I get the email, I'll send it to Tiguana, and Tiguana will send out a correspondence, whether it's, you want to volunteer, you want to make a donation monetarily, or you want to make a donation for the laundry room. We'll get you squared away. And then my office is always at Glen Oak School. A lot of people pop in there to inquire. So email me or pop in at Glen Oak School. That'd be perfect.
Thank you, Chief. And then one last question, Chairwoman Zagardo, because I know that today's meeting is geared on community resources, which is very important. Chief Boone, can you talk about just how involved your staff is as far as the Peoria Public Schools resource officers and some of the things that you all are doing, because you guys are a vital branch of law enforcement here in our community. Honestly, some of the unsung heroes that we may not hear about, but I ran into Quan O'Neill earlier at Peoria High, and just, I appreciate the highlight that he got a few weeks ago just doing his job. So if you could just touch base a little bit about the Peoria Public Schools resource officers and how you all are just a tremendous resource for our community.
Yeah, anytime I can definitely talk about these guys, it's a good thing. Our department with Peoria Public Schools was created in the 1970s. And from that time until 2014, we were a police department recognized by the state. In 2014, we kind of morphed into a school safety department. And our role kind of changed more to social emotional focused. So, and I've seen in this position, as a patrol officer and now the director, the roles have changed. So now the officers are kind of homeschool facilitators, counselors at times. Whenever there's any issues with a student and they knock out reports, they try to find the appropriate services for students. So we try to be that Swiss Army knife in the district to kind of fit every request we have. There's 27 of us currently for the department, but I've pulled stats and kind of looked at some of our stuff today. Last school year, these guys did over 2,000 home visits, did a lot of referrals through the wraparound center. One of my officers, Quan O'Neill, was able to help a student that was having issues at a specific school. But these guys are definitely specialized, in dealing with youth and youth issues and trying to just use that holistic approach and not punitive. So yeah, they are definitely unsung heroes, but they do a lot of work for a lot of families in the community.
Thank you very much, Chief. Yeah, I think it's a huge positive resource for our community. You keep on doing your great job there. So next, I'd like to call on Becky Rossman, who has been involved with nonprofits for over 25 years. She's representing PCAV, which is Peoria Community Against Peoria Community Against Violence. It has a crisis response team that responds to homicides and shootings to provide emotional support, de-escalation, and follow-up services or referrals for family members. The crisis response team has been nationally trained to use the NOVA model for group crisis intervention and individual crisis intervention to reduce trauma after critical incidents for victims, witnesses, and first responders. PCAV is also implementing a soft rollout of a street intervention team and is partnering with the Peoria County Health Department on a national model that is empirically proven to reduce violent crime by treating it as a communicable disease, something that Peoria welcomes right now. So welcome, Becky Rossman. We are excited to learn about your program.
Well, I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with this great group. We've only had paid staff at Peoria Community Against Violence since March, so we are really building this plane as we fly it. So as you talked about with our crisis response team, one of the first things we did was recruit a diverse team of 20 individuals to be certified in this group crisis intervention or individual crisis intervention. Now, it's not to be confused with therapy or take the place of school counseling. Essentially, we go in, it's kind of a one and done, and we really focus on groups, build those connections within each other to reduce the trauma. And then we really help people plan and prepare ahead when they might be triggered again. So for example, in our community where there's so many shootings, people who are already traumatized, when you look at the news or read the paper, it's constantly in there. So we really help them plan ahead. Anyone can dispatch, well, not anyone can dispatch us out, but law enforcement, emergency management services, hospitals, schools, and churches. So anytime there's a group who have a shared traumatic incident, could be a car wreck, a drowning, chronic exposure to gun violence, they are able to call on us, and we will come and do a group crisis intervention. And then we often refer people on for therapy if they need it. Now, our crisis response team responds mostly, obviously, to the homicides and the shootings in our area. Just since I started in March, we have responded to 14. So on site, as you kind of talked about, we do provide the emotional support to the families and the community members, and we often have to help de-escalate situations, whether it's on scene of the homicide, at the hospitals, or the coroner's office. At any given scene, there is 30 to 60 community members, and it's obviously a very highly emotional charged situation. Now, Chris Johnson, who's going to speak, he is with us every single time. He's part of our crisis response team. And then Chris, my partner Keith McDaniel, and I go out after the incident, and we follow up and we do individual crisis intervention. We provide services such as helping people fill out crime victim compensation. The majority of our families need help getting connected with burial services. So we're also working with some funeral homes to help reduce that cost for these families. And then we also do a lot of referrals to other organizations such as OSF Strive. We have over 100 community partners that we work with. A lot of good resources that refer people to us, like the police and the hospitals, and then the ones that we refer to for services. And I have to say, I'm really excited about Allison's program coming, the National Youth Advocate Program. As Chief Boone talked about, there are so many barriers to services for our kids, especially in that 05 and 03 zip code, but they're able to go and bring the services to where the kids are. And that is really important in these under-resourced areas. I came from working at Neighborhood House, and when COVID hit and we stopped our Teen Reach program on site and started feeding 60 kids in the 61605 zip code, within a week we were at 235 kids. So that just goes to show how much transportation and other factors are barriers to the services. So it's best when you can take them to where the people are. Now, we want to be more proactive than reactive. So the police department has been a great resource for us. They're sharing information so we can wrap around services around people who are either being shot at or have been shot or are pulling the trigger, because that's the best way to interrupt that violence. So someone who just recently, a juvenile who recently had their house shot up, we were able to get him a job. So some of our other community partners are employers willing to take people with multiple barriers, such as a lack of education, maybe a criminal history, no work experience, but they're really willing to take a chance on the people that we're working with. Another component of that that you mentioned is our street intervention team, and that's where the most proactive work is going to happen. Now, right now, we've only done a soft rollout of the street intervention team for two reasons. One is the safety of our team, and the other is also we have limited resources. So we're hoping to have more paid positions in the next 6 months, but right now we rely heavily upon volunteers. So the 20 volunteers for our crisis response team, and we have about 25 for our street intervention team. Now we want to make sure that safety is the #1 factor for us. So when we go out, It is with retired police officers, veterans, ex-gang members, and pastors, who comprises our current team. But even when we were out down on the south end, there was a shooting 2 blocks over. So there is an element of danger, which makes us also hard to recruit for. But we have been very lucky that so many community members want to step up and help us. They want to be part of the solution and changing that narrative. So we actually work with the Peoria Police Department, looking at heat maps and finding out where the most amount of shootings occur, because not only national, but Peoria supports this with research, is areas that are highest in poverty. The people living in those areas are the most vulnerable to either being a victim of violent crime or a perpetrator. So we're wrapping our services around both of those entities. Now it's a soft rollout, but we are working with the health department, and we hope to implement a very large scale program by January 2022. And we are modeling it after the national model Cure Violence. It's an empirically based program. They have had great success in multiple cities. And really what it is interrupting violence as if it's a communicable disease. So, and it's really a citywide thing. You know, Demario Boone's program would be a great one, what Chris Johnson does. All of these community partners, everyone will need to be involved to wrap around services. But essentially we'll be kind of leading the street intervention teams under this model, but working very closely with the health department and some other organizations as well. So we're really excited about the direction that we're heading. And just very thankful for all of the community partners working with us and our volunteers, because we wouldn't have gotten this far without them in the last few months. Does anybody have any questions? I know it's a lot.
Thank you. It does sound a lot. So I think that it's interesting. I've heard about this communicable disease theory and approach to dealing with violent crime. And it's fascinating, and I hope it goes a long way to solving some problems. How many paid employees do you have on staff?
Just Keith McDaniel and myself. So the CEO and the community outreach coordinator.
Okay, and Demario listed the needs of the Lights On program. What would you say, aside from volunteers, what are the other needs of your program?
So we put together to-go bags for when we're on scene. So we bring out water, food. A lot of times people need phone chargers, Kleenex. And when the cold weather hits, even though typically there's not as many shootings, we need blankets and hand warmers and things like that, because people are outside, in the elements as the incident occurs. So that's one of the things. And then we're also putting in coloring books. There's a lot of kids on site. We bring stuffed animals, partnering with organizations who are donating stuffed animals, and then trauma books. And then we're also partnering with other agencies. I know this is more into the volunteer capacity, but to help maintain those services. So unfortunately, we're getting hit so quickly with all the different shootings, working with a multitude of families. We want to make sure our services are quality as well. So finding the time where we pass on the baton, we'll always be involved in some way with the families, but we usually lead them to a certain point and then we circle back just to see how they're doing.
Okay, and once again, Andre, let Demario make a pitch for where to, how to find out, how people who want to help can contact you. And why don't you tell us that? And then Allison has a question.
So don't look at our website. We need to completely remodel it. don't go there, but people can email me at pcavceo@gmail.com. Or I don't know if I remember Keith's off the top of my head, so we'll go with that. But if anyone wants to donate or volunteer, we would appreciate anything.
Thank you very much for all the work you're doing. Allison has a question, and I think we're going to keep it quick. Allison, we have one more presenter.
No, of course. Becky, I was just going to ask you if you can talk about your law enforcement advocacy. I know you haven't full on launched it since you're doing other great programs that are, much more high priority. I was just wondering if there's any way that we can assist in your law enforcement advocacy program.
So one of our outcomes for our specific grant is under law enforcement advocacy. So thanks for bringing that up, Allison. And what it is just, kind of connecting the families with the police department. The police department's getting inundated just like we are, obviously more so with all of these shootings. So sometimes just a reminder that, you know, this family has been asking about how the case is going, and just kind of bridging that gap of communication.
Thank you. Great question. Anybody have any other questions for Becky? I saw some clap hands from Andre. Okay, thank you very much. And thank you for
Thank you.
sharing that information about that program with us. Our third and last presenter for tonight is Chris Johnson, and he is the Focus Deterrence Project Manager for the Peoria Police Department. Chris will speak about the Peoria Police Resource Center located at 2300 North Wisconsin. This East Bluff location serves as a hub for education, job training, computer training, health services, and more. So welcome, Mr. Johnson, and I believe you have a document you want us to share, or I'll let you take it from here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me. That's actually the last one. Can you go to the first sheet there? There it is. We are very fortunate. Again, thank you for having us tonight, or having me tonight. We're very fortunate. We're celebrating our first year of having the Resource Center. Next Wednesday, we're having a celebration at 2 o'clock at 2301 North Wisconsin Avenue. Any of you guys are, all of you guys are welcome to come out and celebrate. A year ago, I met with Chief Marion once we received the Resource Center. And what I'm doing tonight is just kind of giving you a brief overview of some of the topics that we discussed and some of the things he wanted to see happen with the Resource Center. Community engagement was one of the things we talked about first. And we were able to immediately start a GED class working with the county under the Moonlight Coalition. That GED class is on Tuesday and Thursdays from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock, and our instructor, Ms. Stoner, is amazing with the students that we have up there. We also started a Safe Serve certification for people who are work in the area, working with food. Many of the people that's taking the classes now, are actually starting their own businesses, and they want to get that Safe Serve certification under their belt. We're in the process of starting a computer class there. We were just donated a bunch of laptops through the county and a grant that they have. And so that's to come. Also, we've been working with the state and doing some work hours for people who have to do their work hours there in the facility. They've been able to utilize the facility to get some of their work hours. We met with one of the new state's attorneys, can't think of his name, Reggie Coleman, maybe that was his name. Anyway, he was talking about putting together a piece where they come up there, if they're working on the GED, they get time towards their work hours that they have to complete. Just some new creative ways to get those work hours done, and also maybe get their GED. So that's some stuff that's in the working. We're also working with the Work Release Center. They're going to start utilizing the facility up there and doing some training in that building. Let me see. We have a job fair that we're doing. Since we have those computers and we have the internet up there, we're putting together a job fair for the East Bluff community. Well, really for the city of Peoria, but we want to really push. We have been working with so many employers, and they have so many available positions. We're just looking for good quality people. So the way that's going to look is that we're actually going to have the employers on site and allowing people to fill out the applications and meeting with them right on site. And that's something that we're working on as well. Of course, I'm there Wednesday from 1 to 4, and Fridays from 1 to 4, doing job search, doing career assessments and assistance. But if someone was trying to utilize the Resource Center and wanted to meet with me, I can flex my time and meet with them any day of the week to make sure they get those services. Before I forget, I want to give the Resource Center number. That number is 839-1221. And then my cell number is 303-8600. Something else we talked about with the chief when we first received the building was getting involved to create some community events up there. So one of the things we did a community coat drive. Thanks to Miss Becky Rosman, when she was at the neighborhood house, they donated quite a few coats to us to be able to move around in the community. We did a neighborhood back to school supply. We did that in conjunction with Bob Kaiser, Angie Smith, and Jubilee Ministries. We did a bicycle giveaway. Now, the bicycle giveaway we did in that community, we did it for the kids up there, but we also gave bikes to some of the children, mostly the children, of the murder victims from the year 2020. Trying to build that relationship with them and letting them know, even though it was just a bite, we're still concerned about their situation. We did a mobile food pantry as soon as we got the resource center right outside where we served 350 people. And we just had a mobile food pantry this past weekend there at the resource center where we served 250 families. So we did a voters registration piece, but upon getting the resource center, we did 3 weeks of canvassing where we went out, knocked on doors, had some young men from the community from Manual High School that came out, and we knocked on doors and told them about the resource center, passed out information about the resource center, about Heartland Healthcare, because they partnered up with us as we worked at that area. We did a neighborhood cleanup in conjunction with the East Bluff. And now these events that I talked to the chief about was really just so that we can start to get our name out there. People start seeing us and getting a level of trust where they know they can come to the resource center and get some of the things that they need. We had a grandmother in the East Bluff area that fortunately was there to support her daughter and took on 3 children, but didn't have beds, linen, or any of that stuff. So we worked in conjunction with the Boys and Girls Club there, and was able to get beds for the families, pillowcases, and all the stuff that went along with it. And we did it as a group effort up there in the East Bluff. So a couple more things we did up there as far as the events. We did a turkey basket giveaway for those in that community for Thanksgiving. We gave 50 baskets away to 50 families in that area. And then we worked with over 12 families for the Christmas holiday in conjunction with the police department with the Shop with a Cop. And we were able to serve those families and make sure that they had a nice Christmas holiday. There's some other things that we're working on too, but I'll move on because I know we're short on time. One of the things the chief talked to me about that he was adamant about is like not reinventing the wheel, getting up there in that community and starting to partner up with people and helping them, assist them on some of the things they're doing and bringing them in on part of the vision that we had. So we got right in with the Boys and Girls Club. Of course, we use Derek Booth in the wraparound center as a great referral. Derek helps us a lot with families who are short on food, family who are needing counseling, and a host of other things. I really enjoy working with Derek. He's a solid guy. The Dream Center and Robbie Chris and his people have been helpful to us. The East Bluff Association and the East Bluff Christian Church, Pastor Williams has helped us a lot. One of the things we ran into in placing people in employment in that area is that they may find a job as far as, let's say, manufacturing, but need boots. So they really have a job but don't have the materials to go to work. So Pastor Williams was really helpful in helping us to find maybe scrubs or paying for scrubs for somebody who found a job that we were working with. So our partners, I think Becky said it earlier, without our partners, the Resource Center really wouldn't be what it is up there. And we're so grateful to have them there. We work with, we work with Glen Oak School, and the principal there, when they have families that's in need, she'll contact me, and then we do what we can to help those families. Moving on to the usage of the building for meetings. You can move on to the next page, please. No, can you hear me? Can you hear me now, Dad?
You go to the next page, Paul?
Yeah, thank you. One other part of the vision that we had when we first received the building was the usage of the building for meetings. So I started meeting with different organizations up there and encouraging them to use the building, setting up a calendar. Of course, we have our GED class up there. Of course, we're having the food safe serve classes going on up there. But we wanted to be able to have the East Bluff Association to utilize PCAP, to utilize the building. It's free of charge. It's a nice building. Use the area for your meetings. And so we had an AAU team who has parent meetings. I talked to the coach, said, man, utilize the building, bring your people up here. And so they've been doing that too, utilizing the building. And it's been a great way for us to continue to build relationships and also to use the building that we have there free of charge. Kind of at the end, I just set a few goals for myself for this next year. We're going to work really hard to continue to increase our GED participation. The Safe Serve Handling course, I'm working with Alexander's Steakhouse and the owners there, and let them, as they hire people, let us know. We're going to bring in maybe specializing classes for their new hires because that's something they got to have to be able to work in that area. Of course, we're going to continue to work on partnerships. Next Wednesday, as we do our celebration, our partners will be there. We're going to have a little bit of food there. So all you guys are welcome to come out and celebrate our first year there in the East Bluff. Of course, we want to increase the usage of the building. And again, I work the calendar. So if anyone wants to use the building contact me again. My cell number is 309-303-8600. Get with me. We'll work out a time. We'll fit you into the calendar. We were extra busy before the COVID hit in the resource area and the resource center. And now we're starting to build that back up, and people are starting to contact me and say, hey, is it okay if that building's still available for me to use? And of course, we're going to work it out for them. And again, we just want to stay in the community. You know, people call us saying, hey, I have a situation, lady doesn't have beds for her grandchildren. That lets us know that we're a resource for them. People are starting to identify that we are a resource there in that community. And it's been a very interesting first year there. We've gotten out, we've worked hard, we've knocked on doors. Sometimes I post up outside the resource center and just pass my business card to people who are going to the Family Dollar, encouraging them to utilize us while we're up there in that area. Any questions?
Thank you very much. I am encouraged to see that while you have just the three of you presented three completely different programs, and as Chief said, he didn't want overlap. I love that you all are collaborating and partnering together to achieve, the spreading of resources throughout our community. I see Lorraine has her hand up, but first I'm going to let you make a plug for what you need from the community, and you've already given us your contact information. So thank you very much. It was nice to meet you. And I think Allison just texted me and said, let's get one of our police community relations meetings in your building one day and spread it around the neighborhood. When we can finally meet in person, we really have a goal of our committee to get out to the people, as Becky said, like take the resources to the people so we can hear. The goal of these town hall meetings is to hear from citizens, but it just might be easier in person. So I'll let you make a pitch for what you need, and then I'll let Lorraine ask her question. And if anybody else has a question, raise your hand. We have like 2 minutes left. Thank you.
Well, we're always open for donations and assistance because we have so many families that need so much. Anyone, again, I left my number. If anyone would like to donate, we have so many situations where people come up last minute needing things. I think I would say we prefer to have the money, I guess, donated to the police department and maybe go that route with it. That way I don't have to be in control of a lot of money. I don't really like to want to do that, but we're always open for donations. We have situations. We had a situation with a mother who came to bury her 2 sons and didn't have a way back to Memphis. And so we put our pennies together and we was able to raise over $500 so she can get home. So we have those kind of situations come up all the time. And if anyone would like to make the donation, again, you can contact me and then I can refer you to where you can make the donation and we can go from there. Thank you, though.
Okay, thank you. Lorraine?
Yes, first of all, I'd like to commend all the people who spoke. That's one of the things I like about Peoria, how everybody pulls together, but they're operating on a much broader perspective than I could ever have imagined. So really, thank you so much for what you do. The second thing I want to say is that while I was at the eye doctor, the resident police officer, Jerry James, called because I had invited him to come to the meeting, and he called to say that he couldn't make it. But he said that he's available, if anyone needs to contact, and he said that I could give out his cell phone number. So that's what I want to do for you. It's Officer Jerry James, and his cell phone number is 472-2373. So I told him there would be opportunities in the future for him to participate with us. And so he said he's looking forward to it.
Meet people all over town in Peoria. Just start a conversation and you'll learn something, right?
Yes.
Good job, Lorraine. Well, thank you, everyone. I don't know. I don't see any other hands up. Thank you all for coming. I don't think I need to actually call the roll to adjourn. Christina, do I need to call roll to adjourn, or do we just adjourn?
You just need a motion, Janice.
Could someone please make a motion to adjourn?
A motion to adjourn. This is Andre.
And then a second. Does someone second?
I second.
Okay, Karen Wilson seconded. And I guess y'all can unmute and I'll just all say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Good night, everyone.
Great meeting, guys. Take care.
Yo.